going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to be looking at Lucid Group, ticker symbol LCID, this morning, 24th of February. It is Friday morning, 5:30. EV stock. We are on Yahoo Finance. Looks like we are currently down pre-market, another 2.16%, trading at 860. According to Yahoo Finance. Head over to the Lucid website, luxury electric car company here. For those in the EV space or like the EV space, Lucid, check them out. Let's go jump into the charts. Looks like we had an earnings miss and big old gap down that took place. And let's see what some of my thoughts are here moving forward. So we obviously have had a change in trend here for Lucid. We had a very, very nice breakout here with a double bottom, higher high, higher low, and then a big blow off top. I mean, very, very nice move here. 150+% from the higher high. Things got questionable and were and should have been a concern of you if you were holding this stock. Nothing to worry about quite yet. When we printed this lower high on the 16th of February, thing of concern, especially as we pulled back here right into earnings. So what I would have been looking for, I don't own this stock. I don't plan on owning Lucid or buying it or anything. I'm just going to talk about the chart here. Is a thing of concern would be when we were sitting right here a day or two ago. You have to be careful that and look for that lower low. And that's obviously what came in to play here on this big gap down. So we had a change in trend, just like we had a change in trend down here from lower highs and lower lows to higher highs and higher lows. So we have a higher high and a higher low and then a big rally. Well, here we have this is still a higher low, but when things got in trouble is right here with a lower high, and then boom, we just got the lower low. So what can you take away from this and what to look forward to here in the days ahead, maybe as soon as today, depending on what the rest of the market does here, the NASDAQ especially, where it looks like Lucid is traded. Well, we're going to take a look back at history here for Lucid, and I think you'll be able to come up with a pretty good conclusion of where I'm going with this. So, for example, we have a gap down, oddly enough, right at earnings, right here on the 9th of November. That was a 16.9% down day for this stock. And then what followed that? Well, what followed that, let me zoom in here for you, was a decent 2-day rally to the upside, but not so much of the 2 days or whatever the day count would be, is it filled the gap. So we had a gap down, closed down 16%, and then the 2 days after, it filled the gap. Keep that in mind as we move forward here. Let's go back to another scenario where we have gaps. This stock likes to gap, that's for sure. So right here, although this wasn't on earnings, we have a gap down. We have a lower high. So we have a pullback, we have a lower high. We start to slide, we get that big gap down. Things get a little volatile, and then we eventually fill the gap to the upside. let's keep on going here and see what we can find. Heading back here, here is another example back in the 2021 year. We have a big gap down, and then in the days or so ahead, we fill the gap. So, getting back to what is happening right now in February of 2023, we just had a massive, massive gap down right here. So the stock started to slide, like I said, lower high, things got a little sketchy, big gap down. So what I would be looking for, once again, guys, I'm not trading this stock. I don't have any intentions on buying this stock. Just sharing my thoughts, looking at what the chart has done in the past and potentially what to look for moving forward here. So in the days ahead, maybe we head lower, maybe we chop around for a bit. I would expect this stock to fill this gap at some point. If not fill all of it, fill most of it. So a fill of the gap would be to trade up to this low, which would be 964. So let's put a horizontal line right at that 964. 963 is close enough for video purposes. So I would expect this stock at some point, maybe it's a couple days, maybe it's today, to trade up, close this gap, and then maybe it resumes its downtrend. So if that were to take place from, let's see, the close of, according to TradingView here, 879, basically right there. So basically a 9 to 10% trade to the upside for Lucid to close that gap. Sometimes, guys, you'll see stocks gap down, you know, on a news event, for example, an earnings call, an earnings miss, some kind of news that comes out, and sometimes that will be the bottom. Although it was short-lived, this gap down that took place on the 9th of November in 2022 was the bottom for a couple days. Ultimately, we traded much lower, but the stock was sliding, and then we had a big gap down, and then rallied for a couple days, plus closed the gap, and then the trend continued to the downside. So that could happen. This could be the bottom for a day or so, and then we rally back up, close the gap, and then the trend does continue to the downside. Of course, I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't track this stock, but potential trade opportunity here for a 8 to 10% or so trade to the upside. If I were to get into this trade, I would be solely looking for a gap close, period. I would be looking to make 5 to 8% or something like that, basically getting up close to this, closing the gap there at the 964. Let's see, what was the gap again? Yeah, 964 would be a close of the gap. And that would be good enough for myself. Maybe some people are looking for more, maybe some people disagree, or maybe some people do agree. But that is my thoughts for this stock. Going back on the history of this stock, when we have gap downs, usually they get closed relatively quick, and then the trend will continue. For this example, it would be to the downside. You could also look for something like this: is you get a gap close, a pullback, you look for a higher low, and then we rally actually from there, creating a higher high, breaking that high there. And that's what took place here. So if we head back here, we fall, double bottom, and then we actually put in a higher high right here. That could take place as well. A higher high, another high here. The pullback, the higher low, that's when you know that the trend has changed back to the upside, guys. So that's a couple different things. Takeaways here is look for the gap to get filled. When the stock starts to pull back after that, you want to see this low hold and look for that higher low. When that higher low comes in, heads up, because sometimes these stocks can rocket out of that, creating a new higher high. Also another scenario. So that is just a couple scenarios I see here for Lucid. We could see a gap fill. We could see some choppiness for a couple days, then a gap fill. We could see a gap fill, then the trend continue back to the downside, finding resistance at that gap, which would be the 964 price or very close to it. So guys, heading over back to Yahoo Finance, it looks like pre-market down, Lucid down 2.16% currently. Like I said, heads up, because sometimes these gap downs, the guys who control the markets use these big fear, headlines are usually negative on a big gap down like this. And sometimes that's the bottom, at least for a little while. And they use that opportunity to run stops, shake people out with either price or news, and they buy that up, and then the stock rallies, and that was the bottom. So that's my thoughts, guys. Not financial advice. Welcome to the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you are not yet subscribed. And we'll catch you guys in another video. Have a great Friday. Be careful out there. Today, we have all kinds of news coming for the market. I would expect some crazy volatility.